Good morning. It's Glamma. I noticed, just to put a fine point on it, I noticed that I ran my stream through like this keyword thing, and it gives you information on like your stream and stuff. And one of the things that it told me was that my being called Glamma is like grandma. And so it gave me all these recommendations for things that grandmas do. And so since I'm not a grandma, I don't know, I'm thinking about how I'm going to change that. Because I do love the name Glamazon. I mean, it's like it's so fitting for me since I'm 6 feet tall. So I'm an Amazon, but I'm glamorous, right? A little bit at least anyway. Okay, well, this morning, I want to, sorry about that. I want to talk a little bit about, I'm not sure if you guys saw hold on one second here. I'm just trying to, there we go. I'm not sure if you guys saw um, my last video, and it was giving everybody some positive affirmations. And I wanted to get some feedback from that. Um, So if you guys saw it, then I'd love, any information that you have for me, or if that helped you, if you enjoyed it, anything like that. Um, and then I am so I'm 6 weeks out of my surgery now, and I have my bar set up today. Um, so I was gonna do some weightlifting. She said I can get back to basically my normal schedule. I mean, she said as I see, as I feel better, basically. So that's great, right? Um, Here, let me move move a little bit so you guys just aren't looking at my um crotch here. Sorry about that. Um, okay. So I have my bar set up so you guys can see it here on the floor. Um, and I'm hoping to get back into the swing. I don't want to rush myself because that's when injury happens. And I'll be honest, it does. It really can. You can get injured very easily if you try to overdo things, especially in the beginning, you know. And so I don't want to do that, right? So what I'm going to do today is I am going to try to get my and I'm sorry about being late. So my internet, we had a big snowstorm last night, and I had all my internet was down for about 2 hours this morning. I was kind of freaking out. Um, but we're good. So anyway, um, that's why I'm a few minutes late this morning, actually half hour late, so I apologize. Okay, so I wanted to talk a little bit before I start. Let me get down here. Because I have my 16 times Zoom camera in today, so you guys can, see me a little bit better. And if you're having problems hearing me or anything like that, please let me know. I definitely want you guys to be able to hear me clearly. Okay, so I noticed that, well, something I observed in NLP is that there's two kinds of NLP, right? So there's um, like the AI NLP, which is natural language processing, right? And that's part of deep learning and AI. But what I talk about on here is um, the study of communication through NLP, which is neuropathology language, right? So it's it's different. Um, and I have some notes up here. I'm sorry, neuro-linguistic programming. Neuro, neuropath, whatever I said. I think I was looking at something else on the screen and inadvertently said that. So neuro-linguistic programming. So linguistics is really important, right? The way what we say and the way we say things, but really it's the words that come out of our mouth. They have resonance and they have meaning to them, right? With the way that we say them and how we're intending them, right? So this neuro-linguistic programming, it's basically the way of changing somebody's thoughts and behaviors, and so something that a woman who's very dear to me, who taught me about all this, used to say to me, she'd say, um, "It's all about your thinking." When you go to drug rehab and places like that, they say, "Change your behaviors, change who you hang out with, change blah blah." Well, you can do all of that, but that drive inside of you, that urge, is still going to be there if you don't change how you talk to yourself, and you don't tell yourself that you're worthy and that you deserve better. Um, and one of the really great ways of doing this that I've found in my life is to start doing it to other people. So I actually even do this to my dogs. I say, "Oh, my babies, you're so beautiful," and I just try to shower them with positive affirmations and things like that. Because when we're saying things like that, then our tone changes. We're just in a place of being a little bit more open. When you say, "I love you so much," "Oh, I love you," but you're angry, there's something about that that's, um, paradigmatic. And people can feel that. Now maybe you're in an argument or something, and you're really pissed off at somebody and you do love them, but you're just amazingly pissed. Of course it's going to be like that. But if you're trying to be light and have a happy day, or just give somebody some encouragement for their life, you know we don't normally go about it by with an angry tone, right? So even if you're telling your dogs, "Oh, I love you so much," in a really angry tone, I don't I don't think that that has the same effect as when, because dogs love it when you talk really sweet to them and baby them. All people like that, right? So, and I think I talked a little bit about, in my video, just about how, in society we have these gender roles that we make so apparent, right? They're getting gray a little bit more, which I think is actually healthy, because I think this pink and blue and all this stuff, that became a really big deal when I was pregnant with my daughter. So I picked, neutral colors. Her because I didn't know what she was, so I picked light green and yellow, like a mint green, and then I put some brown in there, because I didn't know what she was. And so, and everyone was like, "What?" And it was funny because then after I had her, I would take her places and she'd be in all pink. And people would say, "What a cute little boy." So, sometimes people are just trying to, say mean things to you or whatever, because, she was mixed and I don't know. But, it's just funny how we really, those things don't affect like our being, right? When our being has no idea what man or woman or gay or straight or any of those things mean, right? That's our outer. That's something that we do in the physical to deal with, you know, the physical life form that we're in. Um, but our soul has, it doesn't process any of that stuff because it has no meaning to it. It doesn't matter to our souls if we're a man or a woman or whatever. Now, we're having an experience in a body, right? And that's going to give us some insight, hopefully, to people around us, because the bottom line is that we're not here alone. You can live your life all by yourself. You can go and live out in the middle of nowhere if you want and never see anybody. But I guarantee you, if you don't pay your bills, and I guarantee you, if anything that you have, if your trash man's coming by, or anything that you have that you need to, you know live out there, you're depending on somebody. For your electricity, for, people say living off the grid. That's not really possible anymore, even in Alaska, because I was up there. I mean, it's very difficult and it's rough up there. But you have to depend on somebody to get you something, because that's the world that we've made for ourselves now. Nobody goes out and ties into their phone, the phone line, the fiber that's out there. They tie into that, and then they, start up their own, VoIP service, and they put in. Nobody does that. And nobody does that with their electricity either. You come into your house, your electricity is already, in the house, it's in your electrical, your panel is all marked and parsed out for you. And now I have before been concerned about how much energy I'm using, and I put one of those little things in there that monitors everything. So there's things you can do, but you don't go. Nobody goes out and does that anymore. It doesn't matter who you are. There's a service company that's responsible for all that in every municipality in all of the United States, Hawaii and Alaska included. Now, I know that there are some places in the Yukon, right, that literally do not have cell phone service in Canada. And because I was having to discover that when I was thinking about moving up there. Um, so there are places that, services don't get to, but nobody's living there either, right? Nobody's building houses there. Anytime you want to live someplace, you have to have services there. So the thought of the fact that we can just go live, out in the middle of nowhere. Yeah, if you want to camp for the rest of your life and live in a cave or in whatever, but at some point you're going to need water. At some point you're going to need some kind of a resource out there. I mean, where are you going to be putting your defecation and everything else? Eventually it's going to have to go downstream somewhere. You're going to have to, um, either. I mean, if it's just you by yourself, you might be able to do it, but if you have a family and stuff like that, you guys are gonna need to band together and probably more than if there's other people out there, you guys are like a commune, you guys are gonna band together there because it's always better together. Everyone says, "Oh, I wanna live by myself." Yeah, that's fine for a while, but, bottom line is there's still people in this world, and you still have to interact with them at some point, most likely. So neuro back to sorry, natural processing language and neuro-linguistic programming is so we're talking about neuro-linguistic programming, not the other one. Um, we that is how to communicate with each other, right? And so one of the things with our gender roles is that we really have a hard time between genders communicating with each other, no doubt. And we all could get better with that. And so the last time when I was here on my channel, when I did my video for you guys, I was trying to give positive affirmations to men because in our society, we have this image that men are supposed to be this provider and they're supposed to be, the pillar of our families, right? Well, the bottom line is that where are they supposed to go when they're struggling? A lot of times they end up going to places that, it's sexual, because it's quick, it releases stress and energy, and so that can cause some problems, right? I mean, not everything has to be about sex, and that's how men are driven, but, they can expand themselves um, to learn how to communicate too, because the bottom line is that I think every single one of us on this earth is looking for that synergy relationship that you have with a single human being, another person, not two or three or four, because it's too difficult to have that, that connection. But where you have that sexual and that mental and that spiritual connection with another human being. Every single one of us is looking for that. We might do things, we might, go crazy and have sex with tons of people or whatever, to fill a void. But at the end of the day, really what you're looking for is you think in the back of your mind, you think maybe that connection's going to happen with one of these randoms. It doesn't work like that. It just doesn't, because anything that we put our intention to, we're going to see the fruits of that intention, right? So if we're just putting all of our intention into just having random, lovers, then we're not giving any intention to the synergist part. Now, sometimes I think that we can put, "Hey, how are you guys? The Riddler, you're back. Nice to see you, Dean. Hi. Did you get my email, by the way? Because I don't know I think it's that sometimes my internet is just all messed up, and so I sent you an email, but it was sitting in my outbox yesterday or the day before, and I thought, oh my gosh, she's probably wondering what in the hell. So I apologize for that. Anyway, so I'm just sitting here. I'm going to lift weights and I'm going to get on the yoga swing, but I'm just talking a little bit. I'm just following up with, the last, um, okay, good. Um, I don't have a donate button. You know what? I should get one, huh? I don't know why I don't have one on here. I guess it doesn't even ask me. I mean, that I really, well, I think the reason is because I don't think I can monetize right now. But because I think I have to have 3,000 watch hours or something. So I really do need to figure that out. So I will do that after today. But if you really feel compelled to want to donate, you can always go to thinkfactory.work and there is a donate button on there. So if you are really compelled to do that, and I would really, I always appreciate that because I'm really trying to transition myself from, my other job into more of the things that I really love because I don't really feel like I'm doing, the world the best service by, that job. I think that I'm really creative and I think that I have a lot to offer. And, I think that, these types of forums are tend to, where people can actually get to know me, I think are a little bit better for my fans and for myself, right? Healthy. So um, anyway, I really appreciate that. So, anything that I can do to make that transition, and it's been a rough one, because I came from an IT job, and so I've spent a lot of time eating ramen and stuff like that over the last year. I'll tell you, especially since my daughter left home. I try to put all of my money and everything into my content and just, cameras and lights and making everything better and just, having a welcoming environment and stuff like that. And so, um, you know, just keeping the lights on in this place is like an arm and a leg. Because things are just really expensive in the world right now. But in this particular city I'm in, they're really bad. So, um, I feel like, I just never can get ahead, but that's okay. I think it's all gonna, I think if I keep following my passion and I'm true and authentic to my craft, I think that it's going to work out for me. So that's what I'm hoping for. Okay. So anyway, I just wanted to follow up with the last thing that I did on the last video I put up where I gave you guys those positive affirmations. I don't know if anybody saw that, but if you enjoyed it, let me see what you're saying. Let me just see this. I don't, this thing keeps popping up every 5 seconds. Have I ever thought of doing, um, correct my form? What do you mean correct my form? Well, I do. I'm going to be doing that. Right now I'm just sitting on my knees because and that's what this yoga swing is for, right? So this yoga swing is for me to be doing the reason that if I don't have any good form right now is because I just had surgery on this leg and so I'm definitely overcompensating with my back and with other things. That's what happens when you have a surgery. And she told me that, so that's why I've been trying to do the yoga swing so that I can do that. But so and then that's what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to lift weights. I do a lot of stuff with my arms actually. That's why, I have my arms. So that's something that I've always done forever. I've worked out and that's I'm doing that continuation on here for sure. So as a matter of fact, I mean, I just went to a chiropractor and, he said he was surprised at how, with the fact that I've had a boot on for 6 weeks, how, straight and everything my back was. He was actually thinking that I was going to be a lot more lopsided. Oh, right, right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah. You're right. I mean, and that's what he was saying. He said, that you got to get back um, working out and stuff, really eat like, lazily, slowly, because he said, you don't want to injure yourself. And because of the overcompensation that you've been doing for 6 weeks, that's really easy to happen because, Well, one, I haven't been putting as much pressure and stuff on my leg. I've been walking on my heel. So, that's what I'm gonna try. Yeah, I totally agree with you. Yeah, 100%. Yep. Yeah, so I am gonna be, and that's one of the reasons why I wanted to continue this. Yeah, me too. It does. It really has. And, with the yoga swing, in my rehab, I mean, I really feel that 100% I wish I would have been a little bit more structured with it, but I was having kind of a hard time and I didn't really realize that. Hindsight's always 2020. When I was in the midst of it, I thought I was managing everything fine. But now that I look back, I'm like, man, I wasn't keeping a schedule. I was tired all the time because I was healing and my body just, I was trying to live my life like I was totally fine. And, I mean, I just wasn't really, I was still healing and I wasn't giving myself the time to heal properly in terms of, I just felt a lot of pressure to have to work and stuff all the time because that's how I pay my bills. And if I'm not there, I don't make any money. If I'm not online, I don't make anything. So, and so figuring out how, because right here on YouTube, since I just started this channel, like 2 months ago, I'm really close to having everything I need to be able to like monetize things on here. But I'm still, you have to have like 3,000 watch hours and then something else. And well, I met I think it's 1,000 subscribers, so I have that. But it's the 3,000 watch time hours and then 4,000 watch time hours for something else. So I'm really close. I'm like a couple hundred away. So I'm hoping that, after maybe this week, it'll be great and I'll be good. And then I can start, you know, I don't know exactly what that means. Putting Google ads and doing all that stuff, I guess, whatever. But really, the reason I do this, it really was never for the money or anything like that. I mean, I didn't, I've heard that you have to have millions of followers to ever make anything off of YouTube. So that's not why I ever started this. This I started just because, I was having my surgery and I wanted you guys to see my improvements on here. And it gives me, when I have something where I have to show people things, it makes me work harder. Right. So I did this more as an accountability piece for myself because it's really easy to say, oh, yeah, I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that. But when your butt has to be on, you have a video that you're going to be putting out or something like that. And I had no idea that it was going to, that one video that I put out was going to have 70,000 views. So, I mean, I was really happy, but I had no idea. So, people keep saying, well, every video has to be better. And I said, well, I don't know if that's true. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I am feeling going to see my doctor yesterday and hearing just that I'm doing a good job and that, she really didn't say really 2 words. She just said, I'm happy with everything. She said, you can go ahead and start wearing your shoe again whenever you feel ready. She said, if it feels tiring, put the boot back on and stuff like that. And I said, so I can start walking my dogs and lifting weights. And she said, well, yes. She said, yes, but just take it easy because you can still, she said the bone is, it's going to be healing for a little bit longer. But she said in terms of really damaging yourself or something like that, like if you stub your toe, you're not going to bust you know, your foot open or anything like that now. So like all of the skin has healed and stuff like that. But yeah, it does take, especially when you're older, it takes a little bit longer for the bone to fully heal. So I'm really happy. And I'm glad that you say that because it's hard for me sometimes to be in a happy mood when we had a big snow last night and yesterday was really gray. And sometimes I really count, especially in this room because there's lots of natural light. I count on that sunlight to really, you know, um, be my lighting for for these events. So I'm glad that you think that that means that you know hopefully, because I really am at this point in my life where I hate wearing tons of makeup and stuff because I think that, especially when you're on cam, it can, it just, I don't think it looks good when it like goes into your lines and stuff that much. So I try to balance that with, having good natural light and then also, just being fresh and vibrant and feeling good. Really, you're going to exude exactly how you feel. I know when I get online, I try to fake it and everyone's like, "What's wrong? What's wrong with you? How come?" And I'm like, I get mad at myself because I'm like, but it's good that I can't fake it really, right? We shouldn't be faking it anyway. So, all right. So I'm going to start off this morning. Now that I've talked forever, um, 25 minutes already. Sheesh. I'm going to do some of these Supermans just to stretch out a little bit. I will be going upside down on the swing since I know y'all love that, but that is just to stretch my back. And then I am going to be doing a couple sets. We'll see how far I get because I really want my arms back. But more than anything, I want to start, doing some lunges and stuff like that so that I can start to get some of my leg muscles back. Um, it's not like they went very far, but I feel like I've gotten like a little bit of cellulite and stuff on, which I mean, that's normal, that's sexy, that's beautiful. Women should be happy and proud of that stuff. So, um, I mean, I'm not, but I just, summer's coming up and I don't like to, I want to wear a bikini every year. I want to wear a bikini until I'm like 90. Thank you. Yeah, I've thought about professionally weightlifting. So anyway, I'm going to do these. These are like Supermans, right? So I just stand in an angle like this and I have both my feet down. Before I've been doing it with my my surgery foot behind my other foot, just I had it behind it and kind of up so that I was not putting any pressure on it. So I was doing these all with one foot. Now I'm going to be doing them with two. Um, I should maybe show you guys so you can see my whole body. That's the thing about this 16 times zoom camera is, it's just you have to put it so far back to get. And what I am going to be, and hopefully what I'm going to be buying soon, is a camera with a remote control and stuff, so I can zoom in and zoom out, and everything is like controlled, right? So, yeah. So I was a being a I went through the terms of service again, and there were some things on there that I was worried, that might be a little bit seen as, because they say, you can't have like the view like on your crotch for a long time and stuff because that's considered sexual. So, I'm trying to be cognizant of that. Since that's not really what I'm trying to do here. Okay. So I'm going to go back here and I'm just taking this leg with my boot on it and sticking it behind it. That's what I was doing. Now I'm putting them both on the ground, right? And I'm just going like this and I'm just stretching out. This has been a really good way. You can isolate on here, but I don't really believe in isolation in general. Because and you're not, so right now I'm working my arms. So like right here is going to be really sore. But because of the fact that I'm putting myself in an angle. Now, if I was just going like this, well, that wouldn't be doing anything because I'm not using any of my body weight. So you have to figure out ways on here um, how you can, push your muscles into activation, which is, and it's all with your own body weight. So I am isolating right here. However, what you don't realize is your core has to be fully 100% engaged for you to be able to be like this. So I probably am not gaining any muscle mass on my legs right now because I'm at this angle, but at this angle allows me to use my body weight as my weights, So, and it's not easy, I mean, like my arms are kind of shaking. And because this is the first time I've, done this all week, it's probably not the best thing. Um, you know, I didn't do much in the video I gave you with you guys because I was just trying to do those positive affirmations. And I'll tell you where I can feel it the most right here is up here in the back, right here, and then right here, big time. So now the further that you go out and come down like this, the further that you're at an angle, the more weight you're going to be bearing on your upper body because you're basically taking, yeah. So, okay. So I will say I've never been, I'm not a person ever this is probably a good time to say. I've never really been a person who has a leg day and arm day, stuff like that. I always try to work every muscle group. Reason being is because um, when we're standing upright, we're using all of our muscle groups, and we don't always think about the fact that we're always putting stress on our calves, especially when we're standing upright, and our ankles and stuff. And I think, just busting one day super hard on those muscle groups, I think is really stressful to our bodies, first and foremost. Second of all, I think that I tend to get way better results when I just, do um, full full range of motion muscle groups, every time I work out. Now I don't touch every single muscle group. I might do, you know, hams and lats and one day, but I always do abs, I always do arms, and I always do legs. So I'm imagining, since that's how I've always worked out, that's how, you know, I probably in my head structure my yoga stuff with this thing. Just because now I haven't been doing my legs nearly as much, obviously, because of my surgery. But one of the things that's been really great about this, that's totally helped me, and I can't wait to do it right now, is when the way that, you're supposed to keep your leg up above your heart as much as possible. Well, that's kind of hard when I'm hamming, right? Because, and also I did not realize how active, that job is. I thought, oh, this is going to be easy. I mean, I just sit there all day. No, I don't. I don't sit there all day. I'm always getting up, and I always did a dance of the week and all this stuff. So one of the things that's been great about this is, putting my leg up above my heart. And I love these little strap things because I can stick my foot in here and pull this down so I don't have to worry about it coming out. And then my leg is just, I don't even think about it. So I love that. It's really helped me with this recovery because it gets really swollen. And the reason is because, especially for me, I am 6 feet tall. And so I'm going to, my extremities are much further from my heart than somebody who's like 4'5" or 5'1" or, anything like that. So um that has been really helpful. I just took my other shoe off. So um I'm going to stretch my back really quick. Let me put this up a little bit like that. And something I can do here. Um, so I like to have this one up because that way it keeps it above my heart. And it's a crazy how I keep this up and how the swelling goes down like exponentially, it really does. But let's see. Okay. I was feeling like I wasn't getting a very good stretch in my back. So I like to stretch. This thing has really helped too. Before I got this, every morning I would use the foam roller because if I didn't use it, I felt like my back was just really, it would be stiff during the day. And also I felt like would get injuries easier when I would go and lift weights, like at lunch and stuff, if I didn't use my foam roller. So, um, I always use the foam roller. I haven't used the foam roller as much. I think I should start using it again, but I've noticed since I've been using the yoga swing, I don't really have any concerns of my back like I did before, which I think is good. So, I mean, this definitely stretches your back, because, you're using your core. And so you do use your back a lot, as much as you're using your stomach and keeping it taut, you're also using your back muscles, your lower back muscles, and all of that stuff. We forget that since we're upright, um, you know, a lot of stress goes into uh, our spine and our joints and stuff that hold all that together, our hips and our buttocks and our calves, and I mean our upper legs too, but I think our ankles and stuff, especially if you're flat-footed like I am, you know, um, your weight isn't distributed, I don't think, as well as when you have like a higher arch. I mean, I don't know. That's kind of how I feel that you have to work sometimes a little bit harder, especially when you're doing stuff like on your outer legs and stuff, because I walk inward, like I walk kind of like pigeon-toed almost in a way because I'm so flat-footed. So, and I do wear, I don't, thank God with this surgery, I don't have to have like, orthotics that somebody makes for me because that's terrible. Um, okay. I was just making sure I was reading what everybody was saying. Okay. So yeah, that really makes me feel old is like, oh my gosh, my mom, she grew up in this really tiny town in Nebraska. And these women would have these like crazy bunions on their feet and everything. And they'd wear those shoes, sass or whatever they're called. They're like old lady shoes. And some women, they would have such bad corns and such bad bunions, they would cut a hole in the shoe just so their bunion, it wasn't rubbing. And I mean, they came up with these really crazy ways of dealing. And I was like, good Lord, and I was not going to become that. That's why I got surgery, because I don't know if you guys had a chance to look at my post that I did, because I did promise you guys I was going to post my x-rays. I don't know if you guys saw that picture of my toe, my second toe, but I mean, it was wild. It was, totally wasn't laying flat or anything anymore. And it was really uncomfortable and very painful. So I'm really, more than anything, I'm thankful I live in a time period where this is possible and that I don't have to live my life like that. This it's crazy too. I'm gonna post the new X-rays. I think today. I hope I can. I got to make sure that I'm sure they're in my file. But now I have a lot more pins. Before I just had that one. Now I have two additional pins in my foot. So it's very interesting to see what she did. I think I could really tell my doctor. She's younger than me, and I could tell when I was talking to her yesterday, when she was looking at my feet, she had this big smile on her face. And I think she was really proud of the work that she did. And that made me feel really good, like that I had a good doctor, because it's the University of Colorado Health Sciences Center that I got it done. So it's a teaching hospital. So, I think that she probably has an older doctor mentor that, she consult like she consults with, but she also is teaching younger doctors, and those are the ones that are in the surgery with her, and they're learning with her, and stuff like that. They're observing, and so I think that you know I think that we all question sometimes our abilities, but when you are seeing it on somebody like that, and they have done their job in healing themselves as well, because I heard her when I was waiting for her, I heard her in the other room talking to this other woman. And she kept, the woman kept coming up with kind of like excuses or something. I don't know exactly exactly was going on, but she just got pretty firm and she says, well, we need to do an MRI. She said, there's nothing I can do right now. She said, the damage has been done. So apparently this woman, maybe damaged a surgery, or I don't know. But she said, it's been done. And she says, so we're going to have to get an MRI. She says, I can't give you any other additional information until the MRI is done. And I thought, oh shit, she's going to come in here and she's going to be frustrated from that, person. And then maybe she's going to think that I haven't been taking care of my foot well or something. I always think about stuff like that. So anyway, no, she did. She was able to, let go of that and came in, and she had the biggest smile on her face when she was looking at my foot. So I was really excited about that. That made me feel, really happy, that she felt like she did a good job. Because I did try to research her and stuff beforehand, but this surgery came about so quickly. I mean, I went in for x-rays one day, and by the end of the next day, they were already scheduling me for 1 week later to have my surgery. And I was like, whoa, what? So I didn't get it, I felt I did research her a little bit, but I mean, I didn't have a lot of time to do much. You'd love to see what? See the pins? Okay. So I'm going to post those. I will. I'm going to post those. I'm going to do a post when I'm done here, and I'll show you my new foot. I can show you guys the my foot now if you want to see it. It's a lot better because I can probably get off of here now. I think I've stretched enough, and I can start, doing my weights. But so my foot, I'll stick it up here so you guys can hear me. Moving the mic over a little bit. Okay, so here is my foot now. Oops. So, basically what they did is right here, they put, this is where the pin is here. Yeah. And then, so I have this toe separator thing on here. Um, Oh yeah, and well, that's my ankle too, in the toe loop thing. But yeah, you're right. I mean, so I haven't been wearing my boot nearly as much since yesterday, since she told me. But I have these toe separator things on because she said, to make sure I keep my toes separated after the surgery. So, um, so you can tell they're pretty swollen right now. Like, my foot's pretty swollen, but it's not as bad. It used to get so swollen right here right here so badly on my ankle and stuff. And now that seems, well, it's just having it up like that, huge. But I mean, it was way more swollen before I put it up. So now, so they did pins right there. And then over here, you can't really see it that well, but right here is where they also went in. This is called the Aiken, where they went in there and reattached it. Oh, thanks. You know, I was like, "Oh my Lord, I can't give myself a pedicure or go." Well, I knew I couldn't go get one because I don't trust anybody right now, just because my foot is still so, um, just coming out of that healing process. So there was no way in hell I was going to go when my foot had just come out of surgery to get my nails done, my toes done. So I was like, well, I'm going to have to do it myself. So it took a long time, because I had to keep putting my foot up and because every time I would be down, doing anything with it, and also I did put it in Epsom salt, and that felt really good, man, one day. Because, having these toe separator things on here, it does get kind of swollen, and then, this thing it starts itching my skin because it's just, but thank you about my nails. It's funny because my whole life, my family just made so much fun of my feet, just because they were so long and just, my second toe's longer. But since I've been an adult, people tell me all the time that I have beautiful feet. And I think, what in the world? I mean, I realized after this surgery how much feet guys come into my room when I'm camming because that's probably a third of, the people that come and see me. And I realized that I didn't think it was quite that many. And I should have done, if I would have done all the numbers and everything, though, I probably would have talked myself out of the surgery. So it's probably better that I just did it. I'm through it. I just got to make up that money and just, now I can start showing my feet again. It's still pretty. I mean, like I said, now it's kind of turning purple because I took it out of the wrap. So it still definitely needs, you know, the wrap and stuff. And then also, I mean, I have the boot that I wear, and this thing, I can't wait for this to be gone. So I have these pads and everything that go in it because as my foot gets skinnier and able to, put the boot on and stuff, it just slides around in that thing like no other. And like this morning, yeah, I am. I'm on my way to a recovery, full recovery. This morning I kept tripping over it because the swelling has gone down so much. I really do need to. I haven't put any ice on it since yesterday, which is that's pretty amazing because I've been icing it. She's asked me to ice it 6 hours a day, so I was icing it when I was sleeping, but it would fall off a lot, so I can't really use that as my full six. And then, for a few hours a day, I would just go down to my couch and I would, get everything that I needed to work on for content and whatnot. And I'd have my laptop and I'd stick my foot away because my couch has like a high back. So I'd, get the ice and I'd wrap the wrap thing with the ice so it couldn't move. And oftentimes I'd fall asleep, So, which is good. Sleep is what heals this stuff more than anything. So, and I'm really bad about sleeping. I find a million things to do instead of going to bed, and I'm trying to curb that big time. That's my goal this year because it's not healthy, and your body gets rid of toxins that it can never get rid of any other time except when you sleep. I read this book. I don't know. I think I might have told you guys about it once, but I read this book, Why We Sleep, by a sleep psychologist or whatever. It's one of the best books. I listened to it twice actually. It's amazing. It's an excellent book. I think it was on Bill Gates's reading list. I love his reading list. He's kind of, I felt kind of like, um, like my parents or something, something happened to them when I found out him and Melinda were getting divorced because I love the books. Her and Bill have done such an amazing amount of philanthropy work throughout the whole entire world, in third world countries with regards to, yeah, detox, with regards to uh, birth control and all of that stuff because people in other countries, they don't have the access like we do here in America to be able to decide when they want to have kids. They don't have that at all. And so so much of their money has gone just to education because a lot of these people don't know. They when HIV was such a big deal, and people, there was a point in time when people thought in Africa that if you got an albino person or something like that, or you found a virgin, that if you had sex with them, it would take your HIV away. They also did a study once where they gave everybody a bunch of condoms and told them, to go use them, but didn't show them how. They didn't know you were supposed to put them on your, you know, where you're supposed to put them. Um, so actually, no, there was another study that was done where they showed them to put them on a banana. So they went and put it on a banana. They didn't say that you have to put, I mean, they might have, but that's the thing is that when you're trying to educate, so a lot of their work, the money goes to the education of the people that are doing the educating. And that's where you have to start. And it's just, I've just found the books that she wrote and stuff to be just really amazing. I just find her to be just such an amazing person that, she wanted to do all of that. It's funny, but it's sad because, there's a lot of places there that still believe in genital mutilation and all of that stuff. And, and as soon as women start developing breasts, you know, they're getting raped immediately. And, you know, that's not, you're not, you're not building up the collective, you're not building up, your community when you have people living in fear like that. And nobody, you know, I, I just don't feel like anybody should have to worry about stuff like that. Um, so, in America, I feel like I contribute to, controlling the pet population, so to speak, because as a cam model, you give guys an outlet, and at least they have someplace that they can go. And I so that thing, especially because I would say about 3 out of 5 of the guys that want the mommy role play, they've expressed to me that they were touched by their mothers. And I just find that so disturbing. And so, what happens is in society is that then they go and perpetrate on other people because of that. And they a lot of times we don't have the wherewithal to understand our healing process and to stop that behavior. We keep doing it. Um, so the fact that they're coming to, I have this one guy, and like I'm not going to say the word, but it starts with an I and ends with a T and has a C in the middle. Um, that word, he just loves it so much. And I'm actually surprised that I'm able to do that because, we're not supposed to really, be involved in that. But I mean, I'm not his real mom. But it's just so funny how I mean, it just makes him. And so, I'm like, and he says, "I can't believe that I'm doing this with my mom," he's a and it's stepmom, really, stepmom, he says. But, and I said, "Yeah, because you love that, I word," and he's just like, "Uh." But that's the thing, right? Is we don't know the kind of words that trigger people. And so you don't know, you could just be going out on a date with what you think is just like a normal guy. You have no idea what he's been through in his life. And you say something that triggers him and they get when a guy decides that he wants somebody to make him to have, that he wants to have make someone finish have him be able to finish on, regardless of how that is. Because I know that just by, if I go offline for a second or a minute or something like that, some of these guys will never, they keep coming and coming and coming and coming on my room, like, I can see them. I'm like, dude, hold on a second. I'm going to the bathroom or, and it's just like, because sometimes we get cut off, sometimes, whatever. And it's the same when I take video calls with some of these guys, it's like once they've decided that that's the person that's gonna get them to finish, they can't see anything else. And I don't think that women really understand that, you know. I think that and this guy recently, it was the strangest situation. Somebody was like, he was yelling at me next to my car when I was on the road. And I had seen him in the store that I was just in, and he kind of looked at me and stuff. And I thought, I don't know, maybe I know him or I didn't know. So he's talking to me with his window down, and I'm thinking that there's something wrong with my car. So there was an auto zone right there. So I pulled in there and he pulled in behind me. And I said, "Well, what's up? Is something wrong with my car?" And he was like, "No." He said, "Can I have your number?" And I said, "Excuse me, what?" I said, "That's not how people ask for numbers really in this town." I said, I mean, that's kind of dangerous, I mean, I just thought, and so I'm glad I pulled into a public parking lot and everything, but I just said, that's strange. Well, the whole conversation just was kind of bizarre. He was a smaller man and everything. And he was in his 50s. And he said, "Would you go out with me?" And I said, "I really don't know." I said, because I was so at this point I was just still kind of in shock. And I said, "I'm not really sure." But anyway, as the conversation went on, he said, "Well, we were talking about something, and I said, "Yeah, well, I mean, I said, "You've cheated before, right? Like, you know what that means." And he says, "Well, I could never cheat because I'm polygamous." And I thought, "Okay." Well, I said, "Well, that's my cue to go." I said, "All right, well, you have a nice day." It's because that's obviously that's not what I'm looking for. But I mean, once he told me, and I mean, I hadn't even thought about even giving him my number at that point, but I just thought, this is weird. I said, "Well, I said, that's all I need." I said, why would I ever go out on a date with somebody who doesn't ever want to, I mean, you're 53 years old or whatever, and this is how you're approaching somebody that I thought that was the strangest thing I had, you know, and I don't know, maybe, and that's the first time that anybody's asked me, "What do you do for a living?" in a situation like that. And of course I told him the truth. And it was like, that's when everything turned. No, I don't trust him. But that's when, having to say I'm a cam model. See, guys think that there's immediate thought is that you're a slut or that, that's all you do. Well, right. So and I think that he thought that because that must be my job that I wanted to hear that he's, poly whatever, that he likes, multiple women. I don't know. I think he thought he was being funny. I'm not really sure exactly. So anyway, he said, "Well, can I get your number?" So I gave him my work number, right? And it's a Google Voice. And so because I thought, and I told him, I said, "Look, I'm giving this to you, but I said, if I'm not feeling it, I'm just going to block you because that's what I do." So I said, "That's what I'm going to do." And uh, you know, just went kind of from bad to worse. Um, basically he works at night and he was calling me, to just get him off. And I said, "No, I don't do that for people. I certainly don't do it for free." for anybody, and if you wanted to date me, I would think that you'd be, tipping me 10 times more if that's what you want. But here's the bottom line. Once I do that for you, then I'm never going to date you ever because I don't do that. The guy that I was with for 5 years that I was with the whole time I've been doing this job, he's never one time called me. And this man has no manners whatsoever, but he's never asked me to do anything like that. He said before, "I wanna see what you do when you perform and stuff," but he's never and he's been, sat here when I've been working, not sitting here looking at me, but in the other room. But, he's never, ever, ever done that. And so I thought, I mean, this guy, he got really confused. And so he went immediately just to, that's all he wanted to get from me. And I just said, I don't do that. I do not do that. I do not do that. I do not do that. And it was like it just couldn't get through his head. So I realized that. And I took that risk. I took that risk because I really honestly didn't care. His approach and everything was so, because I thought to myself, if this is how he's like, asking women out and he's asking me this, he's definitely asking, other women that probably are much, frumpier than I am. So, um, because he kind of seems desperate at that point when you're trying to pull people over. I said, you know, I thought there was something wrong with my car. And I said, your whole approach to the whole situation is just very bizarre. So, but it was like when he saw me in that store, it was like he saw what he wanted, and that was that. I mean, and that's what I'm saying is when guys get fixated on something like that, it can become an obsession really quickly. And that's why I encourage all the guys that come and see me to go live their lives. There's always going to be somebody to replace them in terms of money. But, especially the ones that I do build, that I know are married and stuff, I say, if you spend as much time with your girlfriend or wife, I have one guy that always wants to come in there and his girlfriend's downstairs or whatever. And he always is trying to talk to me. And I said, if you spend, so now he unfavorited me. I said, I don't care. I'm going to tell you the truth. And he says, well, I'm a really good looking guy. What the and she's kinda heavy. I said, "Well, I said, "Why are you even saying that negative stuff about her?" I said, "How would you feel if she was doing that right now, talking to some dude on a campsite, telling him that, she didn't think that you were that good looking? You might think you are, but maybe she doesn't think that." I said, that's really foul. I said, I think honestly she would be better off with somebody else, to be honest with you. I said, you're up here trying to, talk to me and stuff. And, you have this perfectly willing, real live woman downstairs. And I mean, so I said, where do you think you're going to get with me? I said, you guys need to go live your lives. You don't need to be, because I said, I don't ever meet somebody from here ever. That's something I would never do in a million years because you have to draw the line somewhere, and that's my line. So I would never, ever, ever do that. But I said, and I am so honest with these guys like that. And, it turns a lot of them away because they think, who is she? Here she is on this site, who is she? But I don't care. I still have to say my truth, and I don't do that with anybody. So, I said, I said, it's really sad that you're up here talking to me. I said, you know what I think? I said, I don't even think that she's real. I think you're just lying because they lie about everything. Why would they lie? I can't see their faces. I can't, but it's funny how the only thing they can do is type to me and they can see me. They can all these things. They can see all the women that they go in these rooms and they get played 24/7 by these women, that because they say, oh, well, you guys lie. Yeah, well, so do you guys. And plus, you're paying us to tell you what you want to hear. You're paying us to do that. You're paying us to basically lie to you. You get to see us visually, but at the end of the day, if you want something and you're paying us, our job, and we sign a contract saying that we're going to provide that for you. Sometimes that's just companionship, but once that timer hits and it's done, then, we're not obligated to continue that anymore. There's no obligation there. And guys forget that. It's like they're in fantasy land and they think, thank you. I mean, I just do not mess around when it comes to that because I'm exposing a lot of myself online. I mean, that is not an easy job at all. Guys think that it's easy. I would love to see any of you go try to be naked on a site all day. That is not easy. You're opening yourself up. I've been hacked. I've had, Skype accounts hacked into. I've had email accounts hacked into. I mean, um, it's a cesspool of low lives, a lot of them. Some of them are just there for exactly what it's for, but it just attracts because it's on the internet and it's obsession driven and there's money involved. You're going to get a whole spectrum of people. And, these guys think that they're so coy and whatever. And, you always know when a guy's been hurt by a woman because, he doesn't have anything nice to say. And guys do that all the time. And I tell him, if you're going to be in my room and you want to be, and you want to participate, you want to talk to me, you're going to either talk about positive stuff or I'm going to boot you out, plain and simply. While I'm on here doing what I'm supposed to be doing, then this is not easy. You're in my room, you're gonna play by my rules, and that's it. Because I stream usually 3 at one time. So I say, and I have seen a lot of drops, I used to have hundreds and hundreds of people in my room all the time, but that's when I was, I was not controlling my room well, and I was letting these, and just because there's hundreds of people in your room doesn't mean that they're paying, and I don't care if I have hundreds of people in my room if nobody's paying me. Then I'm definitely gonna tell them what I think. But the bottom line is that the reason that all these guys are wanting mommy role play is because they want nurturing. And I tell them all the time, a real MILF teaches a man how to fish. She doesn't give him the fish. And what you do is you destroy men, you destroy their self-confidence and everything as a mother when you do inappropriate things with them into adulthood. I said, you're not teaching them at all how to go out and be men. You're teaching them how to be little pussy ass bitches, basically, that are tied to their mama's titty. And I said, and guys, they need to realize that too. At some point you got to say that's enough and stand up for yourself. And, if your mom doesn't have the wherewithal and the principles and values to do that, as a man that wants to be a man, you have to do that at some point, I think. Because there's a lot of that goes on in Europe and other places too. I mean, you go to Google Trends and you look up incest, you know, I mean, you'd be surprised. And you look up mother son and then versus father daughter. The number one place for father daughter is Fiji. Who would think? And so it's really crazy. But you can look up stuff like that and do comparisons because I wrote an article about this. And, no comments really or anything like that, because I think people are just like, we don't want to acknowledge that. But that's not me. I'm always like, if there's an elephant in the room, let's talk about it. Well, again, what are man traits, right? I mean, men, just like women, I'll tell you right now, I love to sew, but I love to work on cars. I love to bike, go biking outside with a bicycle, and I love really, really fast cars. I love, and I'm a huge risk taker. There's so many things about my personality that have nothing to do really with either gender except for the things that we put each other in. And here's the bottom line is if we treated each other as equals, then we would erase all of that bull crap. And we would just encourage, I would never date a man who wouldn't take out a vacuum or help me with dinner. I dated a guy who wouldn't even boil water, and that was the cowboy guy. And I just couldn't stand it. I could never. I said, well, can't you just start dinner? Yeah, I do. I love fast cars. So, I've had a couple BMWs in my day. And, in Colorado, it's great. I love driving a stick shift because, you get the power, you get the horses, when you downshift and stuff, you get that power. But, and even, more so if you had like a Hemi or something in it, like those SRTs, but they don't even make, actually, yeah, they do make them with, but I don't I don't know. I don't like cars that are like woo woo like that sound like a huge truck. I know you get power that way. Um, but that's why Porsche is such a you're a Chevy guy. So I'll tell you something, a story about Chevys, but Porsche had a good idea with putting their engines in the back. Same with, Volkswagen, because that way you get that power, that pushes you. It like pushes you forward. I mean, that makes a lot of sense to me. Having a huge engine and a huge everything, in the front of your car to go fast, so there's this guy on a dating site one time. Yeah, a 392. So I met this guy. He told me he was like 27, but I met him and I said, "How old are you?" He was 21. Anyway, he was smitten, but he worked for his dad's rig, and he did the maintenance on all the equipment there. So he made, well over six figures a year, and he was only 21. The kid didn't know what to do with his money. So one of the things he started doing was taking Chevy trucks and Porsche engines and different engines from fast cars and putting them in these, and then they go out and race these in the field and stuff, right? I mean, some of these cars he would put $250,000 into. I mean, just the engines and stuff, because he knew how to do all of that stuff. So he would, but I mean, just the parts, to switch all that stuff out. A lot of it has to be proprietarily made, like the tubing and stuff like that, because things aren't long enough. But I mean, he drove me around a couple times in one of these trucks that he had made, and I mean, they were fast as hell. Smoky too, though. They did wreck them a lot because, um, you know, because of this engine style and stuff like that, I mean, you basically took all the power out of the back, right? Like as the truck part. And you had like, kind of like a rear wheel drive car almost in a way, but on a truck. And so the backs would, fishtail. Also, you don't have any weight back there, right? So I mean, but that was definitely something that, he wrecked a few, trust and believe. But, he was pretty talented in that way. One of the things he loved doing was when we would, people would be behind us or something and he felt like they were riding too close, like he could just like smog the shit out of them. And I don't know if that's something that those cars that transition does, or if that's something that he built into it. But I also think that they just use a lot more gas because the fuel line, it has to go, further and stuff like that. And I just feel like, they probably make more smoke. I don't know, but a reason I went on a like one more date with him was because of that. I was like, I told him, I said, plus, I mean, I don't know, he just wasn't, his nails and stuff are really dirty. And I'm really weird about stuff like that. And I was just like, plus he would just call and call and call. And it's like, I don't want somebody who's desperate, And I just know he wanted one thing, I mean, and I mean, I need more than that. If I just want one thing, I just could have just stayed with the guy I was with when I was single then, you know? But and I'm trying to get better about that, because then the next guy I ended up being with, I thought, well, this is stupid trying to develop a relationship with somebody. This is after my brother killed himself. So I said, yeah, I just want one thing. And that's exactly what I got for the next like 5 years. I mean, I did put some effort into it, trust and believe, because I do that as a human. But, it really wasn't much more than that, because, I saw what was out there. And I was like, okay, well, I was like, he wasn't the only one who, I mean, guys would say anything to try to meet me and stuff. That's why it gives me like, I start feeling like I'm about to have an allergic reaction or a breakdown when I think about having to, actually go out and never date again. I feel like I'm going to have a heart attack. So anyway, let's get this done. And then I'll let you guys go have your day. So I'm going to do these weights. So this is, what I've done. And I'm just doing squats with these, legs out. I'm not going to change my camera right now. Fast cars, bad boys, great lovers. Uh, fast cars. I mean, bad boys. The thing about bad boys that I've realized, they're scared. Bad boys really aren't that bad. They're actually scared of the world, and that's why they act like that, you know? They don't have good social skills. They don't have good um, um, your problem solving skills. They're not logical. Yeah, I can. Uh-huh. Yep, I will. Um, and I trust and believe I've been attracted to those guys my whole life because when I was a little kid, I thought that that meant that they were going to protect me. Like when I was a teenager, what? Excuse you, what? Are you a bad boy? But I mean, that's not, my experience with all of these guys has been that first of all, okay, okay, good. Um, when you have this bad boy persona or whatever, that's just a mask, so that you don't have to deal with the rest of the world. And it's also a way to control your environment all the time. When you walk into any situation and you look angry and anything anybody does makes you pop, you know, people get scared, but that just shows your inability to be able to deal with the world, really. Um, and it's amazing to me how many guys, you know, are scared of guys like that. It is. You burn biscuits on the stove. You're autistic. Who? Wait, what's Kevin saying? Okay, okay, okay. All right. Yeah, I will. I'm gonna do it. You're autistic? Are you really? Are you really, William? Do you have Asperger's? I'm asking William. Oven. Burn biscuits in the oven. Yeah. Um, but do you really? That's cool though. I have another guy actually that comes into one of my rooms and he's an autistic kid. He has Asperger's and he's really high functioning. So I mean, and you have Asperger's or autistic people tend to be really smart, honestly. Um, I think that, they thought that that's what I have. Oh, really? How many siblings do you have? How many siblings do you have? No shit. Did you just have one brother? Okay, so you just have one. And both of you guys, that's really interesting because I bet you that there's obviously something in the DNA that, because that's pretty unusual, I think. But it could be a lot more common than we think. We're just starting to do research on that. So, but that's really interesting because of CRISPR and stuff. Yeah, me too. Yeah, me too. I seem smart, but it's like smoke and mirrors, it takes me a lot longer to understand math concepts and stuff like that than other people. Now, once I get them, I'm pretty good. But it's just because of my dyslexia and stuff like that, I think of things in a totally different way than most people. And so, it takes a special person who's willing to work on it with me to have me understand. And that's why I just started teaching myself everything because yes, it takes me a lot longer, but I do it, the way that I understand it. And, a lot of like computer and math concepts like that, I have a goal, right? I have a goal. And so I say, well, that's my goal. And so I start doing something and I'm always trying to get to that goal. And so I don't always take the first initial like right steps. I try to jump right to step 16 or whatever. But the way that that helps me is because when I'm backtracking, because eventually I'm going to have to go back, I'm going to have to backtrack to number one to start from the beginning. You just have to every time I tell myself, okay, do it, but I think that I'm going to save time by jumping to, step 16. It doesn't work like that. And so it's with sewing, everything, anything I teach myself, I try to do that. So now I'm trying to be much more methodical about it. And I'm trying to test and see, if I'm learning things faster, or maybe because of the way that I've jumped to step 16 and I have to backtrack, that might just be the way I learn. It could be. And so, I try to be patient with myself because my family and my siblings and everything, they always used to be so hard on like, you're not doing it right because I was the youngest. And so, I learned how to do everything myself. And that's why I could jerry rig anything, whether it's software or a car part, anything that you need to hold something together, anything that needs to hold water, anything like that. I mean, I can jerry rig it for a short time until we can get the part or whatever, but I can fix almost anything. I mean, I can burn something down or, modify it or bang it or, whatever needs to be done. I can figure out a way to temporarily get something to work, especially like with software and stuff like that. I've always been able to do that, and I think a lot of that comes from you know thinking that I have to figure out how to do something, and the way that people have taught me isn't how I learn. So you wanted me to do bicep curls, so I'm going to do that for you. Oh, so I have to do my taxes. I mean, they're already late. Because I have no idea. This is the first year that I'm filing as 1099 and everything. I don't even know where to start. I've only found two of I probably have a ton of, um, tax forms or 1099s that I have to, go dig up from people. I just have to download them, I'm sure, from all the sites that I was on, because some of them was only on for a little bit or whatever. And all of that stuff has to be accounted for. Yeah. Well, you know what my biggest crux is right now in IT? It's the weirdest thing. I cannot figure out how to get a PDF into Google Sheets. I mean, it's like, so I know how to get it into Excel, but I want to omit that extra step. I don't want to have to do that because what I'm trying to do is get rid of Office 365. Um, I just am finding that Google Workspace is just a lot more, it's like a lot better for a content creator. And I'm trying to build a a cloud machine right now, one that I can cam from in the cloud. I obviously it'll hook to my computer here, but I can use the resources in the cloud to cam from that. So I don't, because I have a lot of issues having to reboot and stuff because I don't have enough RAM really to do everything that I'm doing. But it's pretty expensive. It might be cheaper for me to just get like a computer at home with like a terabyte of RAM on it. But my biggest thing, and this is how the reason my taxes are late, is because I am not going to sit there and input every single thing from 2023 because a lot of stuff that I paid for, I can write off. But I have to be able to look at everything and query it and do all of that. And so in order to do that, because I need to see, how many times did I go to Walmart? Well, Walmart, I was buying, because I can write off my toilet paper, I can write off a portion of my food, I can write off almost, half of my house really, in terms of work because I cam in 3 rooms of it, especially now. So it's, I'm trying to figure that out right now. And I'm just like, how in the world I cannot figure out how to get a freaking PDF. And why in the world would banks and stuff send their documents out as PDF? Now, PDF is probably the best way because it's hard to extract information from it, right? It just looks like a picture. So I guess, but I don't, I'm just like, how, so I have to go look at it again today and I have to get that done as soon as possible because I'm sure, I mean, I'm not sure, but I might owe, depending on, because I was out of work for the first 3 months. So that, and also I own my business, but, because of the payment system that I was using, I didn't make any money that year, last year. I didn't start it until like March, but uh, whew, the payment system wasn't working. And I didn't realize that until I hired a marketing manager to test it. And he tested it and, none of the payments went through. So I had to change systems entirely, change my web hosting and all that stuff because I was like, well, this is stupid as hell. I'm never going to make any money, if people can't pay. So I had to do that. But that was the reason why my business didn't make any money because people tried. Lots of people tried, but they couldn't. And I didn't get those logs until way late in the game. thinking that my payment system worked the whole time. And, unfortunately, it wasn't people that actually knew me that could call me and say, "Hey, I tried to buy something on your site," because nobody in my family wants to support that. I will say my niece, she asked me to do some mock-ups for her. She started a business with her boyfriend, and I did some graphics design for her, and she actually paid me, and I never asked her to. And I know my tech stuff. Well, I don't know. It feels like I'm a big jumbling idiot right now, not being able to figure out this Google Sheets thing. And I thought, this is as soon as I decide, so I can definitely get in an Excel. I'm just trying to avoid that because I'm going to have to figure this out at some point if I get rid of Office 365. And I don't know if you really can because, so many things are in Excel, and Excel transfers so much stuff, that you can convert it. So I don't know. I might have to keep my personal Office 365, which is like $6 a month, but I've been paying for Azure and all this cloud stuff. That's where my thinkfactory.work email is hosted in Exchange online. And, it does have a ton of capabilities. And I was trying to learn it so much because I was, thinking I was going to go back into that field again. But so we'll see. I mean, I did have a bunch of interviews this week. I will tell you that. Um, quite a few. One yesterday, and they never even asked me to come back for the second one. And I was kind of glad. It was like a marketing job, but it wasn't something that they wanted me on site every single day. And there's no way I can do that, especially right now, just, getting my foot. I can't quite wear shoes yet on this foot. So there's no way I can go, be in an office all damn day, maybe a couple times a week, but that's not what what I desire. And I mean, all the fan base and everything that I've built up to this point, that would all go away if I had to be in an office every single day, because there's just not enough hours in the day to do everything. I can barely find them, and I'm home all the time just to get my camming done and then my content because I do everything myself, and it's a lot of work. And eventually, hopefully, I'll have a team, but I can't do that right now. I have to just go with the punches until I'm making money. When you start doing this stuff, it takes sometimes a couple of years where you start seeing the fruits of your labor, and it's one of these games where you have to be really patient. Sometimes people go viral, but the chances of that happening are so slim. So I'm not counting on that ever. I know that I'm just gonna have to do my due diligence, right? Okay, so I'm gonna do one more set of my arms so I can let you guys go. And then my foot is feeling a little bit, because I haven't had it in the boot this whole time. So it is feeling a little bit sore. Like I'm starting to, put a lot of my weight on the outside of my foot. Just because the toes are really sore right now and swollen. They're purple right now. So, and it's funny, just adding like this weight. Well, I mean, this isn't a ton, but it's not, the lightest weight in the world either. Oh, thank you. Thank you. And I do have shorts on underneath this one. This is my daughter's skirt. I found it when I was going through all of her stuff. And I said, that's going to be really cute to wear at work. So I said, I mean, you know, I'm sure I bought it for her or whatever. I said, if she asked me for it back or whatever, I'll give it back to her. But I even told her, I said, oh yeah, by the way, I'm using some of your makeup and and I'm wearing some of your clothes. Just because I like to be honest, so she's not like, oh my gosh, and you were wearing my clothes when you were on YouTube or whatever. Yeah, I was, and I told you too. So don't worry about it. I'm pretty sure she got this at like a thrift store or something that we went to. Because I'm like a thrift finder, man. I can I found Gucci, Louis Vuitton, you name it, I can find it at a fucking thrift store. So anyway, I wanted to end today by giving you guys some positive affirmations. Yeah, I am Miss Thrifty. What are you saying about golf? Give it time on the foot. Oh, golfing stuff at the thrift? I've never looked for stuff golfing stuff there, but I have found tennis rackets and stuff, like Babolat and stuff like that. People sometimes it's just, somebody just doesn't want to deal with somebody's stuff, and they're responsible for getting rid of it. I mean, I have this Hugo Boss blazer. Back in the day, Hugo Boss was like, it was better than Calvin Klein or anything like that. And if you're pretty hard pressed to even find Hugo Boss in stores like Ross and stuff like that, because the real stuff used to be. I mean, that used to be the stuff. But I found a blazer, and I think it was handmade by them or something, like maybe they special ordered it, the person, because it has this really crazy tag on the inside, but embossed on the lining of the blazer are like strippers. And I never noticed it until I had owned it for 2 years, more than that. And I was sitting in my sewing room one day because I'd taken it off because I was sewing something really quick. And so I took it off because I wear it often. It's cotton. It's like one of the nicest jackets. And I was sitting on the floor, and I said, what in the world? And all of a sudden I see that it has, so they must have ordered that special or something, because I looked online, and I said, I put in like Hugo Boss blazers with, embossed lining with strippers. Nothing ever came up, not one thing. And it has the label on it. So I feel like it was probably custom tailored, or, he ordered it special or something like that and picked the fabrics or something like that. I don't know. But I don't think whoever gave it away knew what they had, because, you know, it's definitely, and stuff like that. It doesn't hold value. The minute you buy that's why I don't buy any brand new Louis Vuitton or anything like that, because one, it's the most marked up shit on the market. I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous. That and Hermes. Number two, it's not even real leather. It's canvas, 99% of it. And number three, the resources that are used to make one purse are astronomical. And they don't put anything back to the, water and all that stuff. But they charge, ridiculous amounts. I mean, I do have some Louis. I do have some Eppies. Now, I have a Eppie that I bought secondhand that is a woman's knitting bag. So women used to go knit in the square in Paris. All these bags were made for people to carry their liquor and stuff around in, to go vacation, when they took trips on boats. And then also, like, most of the bags that women like to wear, the bigger ones, those were to carry wine bottles and stuff in on your bicycle in Italy. That's what they were made for. That's why they're canvas. And then women started wanting to wear them as their best purses. But anyway, I have this Epi, and it's all leather, but it's in the shape of a triangle, so that women would just sit there and bring their knitting with them wherever they would go, and, pull it out of the bag like that. And so it's very, very unique, and you can't find anything like that brand new anywhere. So that I bought another Epi, like crossbody. It's a green color, Kelly green. So pretty unusual. The lining was kind of messed up. I bought it from this girl in Japan, and so I put my own lining in it. But and I do have one that I bought from this place called the Snob Shop, a big Nior bag years ago. 25 years ago probably. And I never use it because it's so big, and I can't find a freaking thing in it, because there has no pockets or anything in it. I thought, what in the world is this for? Well, I looked it up. Oh, it's for carrying wine on your bike. Yeah, exactly. I was like, what in the hell? I'm like, I said, this is not functional at all as a woman's bag. So I said, what in the world were these made for? So I looked it up, and I thought, you know, So that gave me a really good idea. Number one is I started going to thrift stores and finding gorgeous all leather bags, that people had just given. I mean, I found Marc Jacobs there. I bought a bag. It was, the thrift stores that I hear are kind of expensive, but this one I go to where I find all the good stuff. I mean, I can't tell you, this. The last time I went there, I spent $100, and that seems like a lot, but I mean, I got a pair of motorcycle boots that are like really nice. I've gotten a leather trench coat there. I need a bowling ball. I've gotten skis. I've gotten skis at thrift stores, really nice skis, because this is a ski state. But I mean, it's amazing to me what people throw away. It's also amazing to me the things that they donate. It's like, why wouldn't you just throw that away? Like, why would you donate that? And it's amazing to me that the people that work there, the things that they put out on the floor that don't work, as opposed to, and like the Gucci belt and stuff. I think a lot of times people, they don't know certain brands, especially really high couture. The only thing they know is stuff that they see on advertisements and stuff, but a lot of them don't know. So that's why when I go to the suit section, I look at the tags. I don't even look at the jacket or anything until I open the lapel, and I look inside to see what the brand is. I have so many Christian Dior. I got a brand new Christian Dior blazer that still had the tag on the outside of the arm right here. So it had never been worn at the thrift store for like $6.99. Never been worn. And it was funny because I had just bought an oversized satin blazer to wear as a dress at H&M and it was on sale for like 17.99. And I got this one, wool, brand new Christian Dior for 6.99. You know, I love getting deals like that. That makes me feel so good because, you know, I love expensive things. And I love it when somebody throws something away thinking that it's garbage, but because here's the bottom line too, is that I will never pay full price for that stuff because the second you buy it, the value's gone. It's done. Once you wear it, and trying to get your money back out of any of that stuff, it's futile. You're never going to, because it's never going to mean the same to somebody else as it did to you. And so why would you ever pay retail for anything like that? And it just blows my mind. I don't get it. I just don't, it's like I would never do that. And I used to, until I had my kid. And then, with the stuff she wanted, I would go and look at on the clearance rack for myself. And I started finding all these amazing deals. As a matter of fact, people would always want to come with me to the clearance section because I find the best stuff, because especially in like really crappy stores like Ross and stuff like that, it's amazing how much stuff I find. You know what? Talking about that, what I'm looking for is a bunch of Pendleton stuff. And horse places is the perfect, there's a lot of Pendleton stuff that, I'm looking for, like wool blankets and things like that. And a lot of people, they don't even use, it depends on their horse. But sometimes horses, you know, they especially if you've ridden it bareback and stuff like that, sometimes they get really weird with the padding underneath the saddle. And so I've known a lot of people that just throw a Pendleton blanket down on their horse's back. And in the wintertime too, sometimes they'll just go out and throw a couple blankets on their horses if it's a cold day or something in the paddock, and stuff like that. So I know that people use Pendleton for horse riding and stuff like that, especially Western. And I'm looking for a bunch of Pendleton stuff. So yeah. And the other thing with tack is leather, anything leather. I mean, because I make a ton of stuff out of leather. So anything that's like pennies on the dollar, like you're saying, I mean, I can make all kinds. I can make 20 different bracelets out of like a nice what am I trying to say? Not set like not the reins, but the what the fuck? 5 times padding. So no hot spots. Yeah, that's true. That is true. Um, well, but I know this guy, he had this big bay mare, and she was just really she was kind of bony, like in her hips or something. And she would get really wily and rear and stuff like that when would have like the padding. Maybe he didn't have the right size or something. I don't know. But he would take a couple Pendleton blankets and put them down and then put the saddle pad on over it. And that seemed to get her, to be quieted down a bit. She would get kind of crazy, but she was kind of crazy with him anyway. I know they had a really strange relationship, but she was one of the sweetest horses I've ever met. She had these long eyelashes, and she would just go crazy when she would hear my car coming up the road. I mean, that horse, she and I, we were just like, she would come to the bathroom window when I'd be going to the bathroom in there, and she put her nose, and I'd say, "Penny, what are you doing?" She'd be talking to me and stuff, and but she was a really sweet horse. I mean, I get along really well with horses. I really do. I mean, I don't know what it is, but I think it's I respect them, and so because I respect them because of their size and stuff. And we also had like one of those flea bitten. It's like a gray horse. He was okay. He would get out all the time. He was kind of wily, but I mean, I think that's because he was a boy, even though that's what they do. So. Okay, so I'm going to end today with some positive affirmations for everybody. Okay, so since we're still on this, neuro processing language type stuff, I want to continue that just through this month, and let everybody know that came and saw me today that you are worthy and that you have a purpose 100% and that you are loved. Oh, that's a good point. Yeah, that's a good point. Well, he was a horse trainer and really didn't know much about horses, and I've never met somebody like that before, but he doesn't have horses now, and I think that's the best. So, okay. So, I'm going to say, and I'm telling you guys this. I radiate love and kindness to myself and others, right? Yeah, we do. Yes, we do. I trust the process of life and have faith in my journey. This is a really good one because I think that we are always trying to control things, especially when it comes to other people. We want certain people to love us or like us. And sometimes we're willing to do all kinds of things that we wouldn't normally would do, to get people to like us. And that's not trusting the process at all, right? We're trying to force the process, and that's manipulation. And I don't think that's healthy. So I trust the process of life and have faith in my journey. So this is a really good one. I'm going to pull this one out so I can, put it on my bathroom mirror. I'm confident in my abilities and trust my own intuition. Yeah, that's a good one. That's a really good one. And that's one that, it's good for me to remember because I really do try to trust the process, and I get a lot of flack, from people around me in my life that ask me, why don't I do it this way? Why don't I do it that way? Why don't I, well, that's not really for them to say. And this is going to help me say, well, I'm trusting the process, right? Because people are like, you need to go get a regular job. This is ridiculous. Like what are you going to do? You're going to keep doing this forever, and it's like, well, look, I'm just trying it this way this time. If I get to that point, then I'm going to have to make that decision. But you're not living my life either. You're not the one that's worrying about your rent or how you're going to eat. So why are you concerned? You need to think about why you're so concerned about what I'm doing. And I need to remember that and just, and not get frustrated with these people either because, they think they're helping, but, you know, that's not helping. I think, telling people like if somebody tells me they're going to do something, then I should be more supportive and say, I trust you. I trust your process. And I trust that this is the right thing for you, instead of saying, well, this is what I think you should do, because I'm sure I do that as well. And that's not healthy. Okay. I create a joyful and fulfilling life. So I'm going to leave it with this one because we do, right? Our lives are as fulfilling as we make them. And just because you're alone doesn't mean that you have to be lonely. You know, you you have time to develop yourself, which a lot of times people in relationships, they don't. They might have better skills at managing, relationships, but they might not, they might be scared to be alone. And there's one thing that I've learned in life is that you really never develop your soul as a human until you've learned to spend some time alone. I mean, really alone. Without being in a relationship and all of that stuff. That's the only time that you really learn about yourself and what you're boundaries are and, your self-love and stuff. And so, and it's really difficult, especially in today's day and age with technology and everything, for people to ever experience that. But, if you have a chance to, you're gonna you're gonna be a completely different human. Most people are they're scared to death of that. My daughter's dad died homeless because he was scared to be physically alone. He couldn't be alone ever. That was too much for him. So that's how I feel. That is honestly how I feel. Because I think about things so different, and I'm just, you know, I feel like when I'm around a huge group of people, that's when I feel the most alone because I don't think like the masses. I don't follow the leader. It's and people are always like, "Come on, why aren't you having fun?" And it's like, well, this isn't really fun for me. I'm thinking about all the things that I can be doing, to build my empire. And nobody can build that empire but me. The more time we spend in social settings dicking around, the less we're building our empires. And people like that. It makes them feel good when you're not doing what you want to be doing and you're wasting time with them. Anybody's going to encourage that because then they don't have to acknowledge the fact that they're wasting their own time. And I had to get away from people like that. And what I realized is that most people are like that, even my own family. So, in order for me to really build my empire, um, I had to learn how to be alone because being around a bunch of people that suck you dry, it does not help you build your empire. It leaves you in the mud every single time. And I don't think a lot of times people even realize that they're doing that. They just don't. Getting a horse turned into ranch. Yeah. And, ranching, that's a kind of a solitary thing, but you're building a relationship with other living beings, right? They're trusting you. And that's a huge responsibility. I mean, I think about these three little dogs that I have. I mean, these guys, they're totally helpless without me. And, and I talk to them all the time and I say, because they're so patient with me. And I get mad at them if they piddle on the floor or do something like that. But it's been 6 hours since I took them out. Why in the world am I mad at them? Because I've been, doing stuff that I've been taking care of. And, being with animals like that, oh yeah, we all have. But being with animals, it really does soothe your soul. It really does. I mean, there's nothing in the world like being out in the middle of nowhere, with a horse or, with a horse and some cattle or whatever, and you're trying to wrangle them, from one side or to the other or whatever. But just being out there and just having that peace of the and tranquility of just the outside and just, you have to dig in deep to use every single skill set you have to think about because you always have one runner, one guy that's always doing something else. So you're always trying to, and most of them, they get it. They're like, okay, we're moving this way and you gotta, but so you're always thinking, you're always on your toes, thinking about how, okay, I moved them, half a mile or something. Now this is good, but I got to keep this up, because I still have X amount of time, to go. Yeah. Pasture rotating. Yeah. You know, um, but when you do that, and especially, it's okay when you only have a few and it's okay when you have a ton, but when you have like 20 or something like that, you always have some, especially depending on their ages at a walk. Yeah. Well, that's best, just walk with them. And I mean, that's what, the sheep herders, I mean, that's their responsibility is just to herd the sheep and keep them all together. And, so because you have one that goes out on its own and that's a goner, he's going to get eaten up by a coyote or whatever, that's it. Cause they just don't have the resources to defend themselves like that. And that a lot of that comes from, it's same with horses. Horses are 100% dependent on people now. There's really no such thing in the United States as a wild horse. Horses just can't survive on their own anymore. We've made them completely dependent on us. So, um, the BLM, this is some years ago, but the BLM uh, was shipping horses to France because horse meat is, really revered out there. And, they were finding these horses that were Mustangs, supposedly. A good lead cow, yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah. And I don't really know that, I haven't done a lot of that, trust and believe. But, I've had a couple days, maybe some weeks that I've done, and generally it was more horses, getting horses from one side to the other and stuff like that. Um, I haven't done a lot with cattle, but I mean, I would try, I mean, I'm willing to try anything because I think the learning experience you get from something like that is just so it's just it's just a totally different way of thinking about your life. It's a totally different way of getting through your day. It's a slower way of thinking. And I think that's really important in today's day and age. How in the world you even, found me on here, I don't know. I don't know because I don't mean what in the world were you looking up? Um, because I mean, I just imagine you being out, doing your stuff all the time. I mean, it's funny to me how much people have moved from like regular television to this kind of entertainment, which I think is great. I mean, this is way more interactive, way healthier, I think, than watching any regular television. Well, no, I mean, there's an article, I can send it to you, because I worked for the BLM for a number of years. Well, not the BLM, but I worked for IPSOD, Irrigation Power and Safety of Dams, and they work directly with the Bureau of Land Management and stuff like that. And there's a bunch of illegal stuff that goes on, especially when they don't think anybody's looking, especially when it has to do with American Indians or animals, because they just don't really care. And it's sad, but that's what happens with, government intervening and bureaucracy, unfortunately. I think, there's just very few people that get into those positions that are trying to do something for the greater good. They're just doing whatever they have to do to get home at night, and, they don't really care who it affects or what the consequences are. And I worked in the government for 16 years, since I was, you know, 19. I started with the USGS, and, I've worked for state and federal all over. I've even worked with the Colorado Supreme Court. But yeah, so it's crazy. Now, I did work with the Department of Energy, and they did a mitigation project for birds because birds were getting sliced. Yeah, I will. I'll find it for you. This is some years ago. I mean, this article was probably about 10 years ago, but it was it was it was definitely in the 2000s. So I'll find it and send it to you. As a matter of fact, the reason I think I found it is because I feel like some of the horses that got sent to over there were found in Crescent Butte or on the western slope here in Colorado. So and that's why, and I was like, wait, what? And I couldn't believe it. And I don't even know if anybody felt any, if there was any individual um accountability that had to be, or if it was the BLM itself in that area just got some of their funding docked, or I don't know. I can't remember now, but it was really interesting. So let me look for it. It has to be documented somewhere because I found it once, so. And well, the only is the if I found it when I was working in a government agency, then it's going to be much harder to find. But that's one of the things that they're supposed to do is be transparent about that stuff now. So because I know when the dude I was with, he was in prison in Wyoming during COVID, they had to make that public to anybody who wanted to see it. And I would send it to him because they weren't telling these guys what was going on at all on the inside. And I was risking a lot by sending it to him because there's a chance they wouldn't give it to him. And there was a chance that they would let everybody know that I was sending that stuff to him, which, that you don't want to get called out in there because, then they don't, your people don't know if they can trust you because, your Sally and all those people have to become, you know, you guys have to have a relationship in there. So, um, but I did, and it helped him. It helped to at least put his mind at ease, that it was being reported and stuff because it was 26 people, 26 inmates got COVID. How do you think they're getting that? That's coming in from the outside. So what's going on in there? You know, I mean, come on now. That's kind of crazy. But they had to disclose all of that. So I was sending that stuff along. So, and if Wyoming's doing it, and that state is, I mean, when it comes to their computer systems and stuff like that, I mean, it's like, wow. I mean, not the right hand doesn't talk to the left at all. And some of these counties are just, they're run by some real messed up people. Oh, it was raining today. Well, that's excellent. Well, that's great. I love that. Well, now, how did you find me though? That's what I wish I could ask everybody who found me. I mean, it tells me that, you guys found me from like, but it doesn't tell me search terms or anything like that. It says like you found me from um the main page. But that means that they had been putting that up there. And I don't before I had my 70,000 view episode or whatever. I don't know how, I think it's strange that they would do that. I mean, maybe, I don't know. Were you putting in search terms? How did you find me? If anybody wants to answer who's watching, because I know I have like 10 people in here. It's funny because it always shows me that I have like 10 or 12 or something, but then at the end of the broadcast, it will say like I had 122 viewers, and I'm like, what? Oh, you did by accident? I wonder if that's how everyone else found me. That's so funny. That's interesting. That's crazy. Well, I appreciate you coming by today, and I'll respond to your response to me, and hopefully, that's all going well for you. I'm not sure if you heard from your brother or not, but I think it's wonderful that you reached out, and if you don't, it's not that big of a deal. It's no sweat off your back to just extend that hand of peace. Really, it makes your heart feel more peaceful, I think. Computer generated. Well, they'll usually that's because of the algorithm, but I don't know. My phone is going off, which is weird because it's cryptocurrency and it's not a trading day. Well, did he call you back? I mean, you don't have to talk about it on here if you don't want to, but you know, I'm gonna say before, while you're answering, because I know there's a lag and stuff like that. He did? Well, that's really wonderful. And just, I mean, imagine the fact that if you wouldn't have done that, you guys would have just stayed in that dark space for a long time. And the thing is you weren't asking for anything from him, and he probably didn't even know how to reach out to you because he thought that every time he did, he needed something or it was for drugs, like you said. And so, I mean, he probably just didn't know how to approach it. And so the fact that you did that, the fact that that moved you enough to just do something like that, that's incredible. And I didn't have anything to do with that. You did that. But I just, that's wonderful. That makes my heart feel so good. I feel like I could cry because, you know, I'm just, it's wonderful to know that, people trust, me enough to just try something like that. And, that it can change your whole relationship with somebody. It really can. And I've experienced it. And that's why I always encourage people to just try, you know, because at the end of the day, you guys are brothers and, you want to be able to, I mean, it's easy to write people off because I've done it my whole life. But it's also nice when you have somebody that you can trust and that you love, It really is. So I'm really happy that that worked out for you, and it's not gonna work out like that every time, it's not, because, you know, people have their own stuff going on, but it's wonderful, and, it could change, but it's wonderful that that happened, and I bet you he just didn't really know what to say, and that's the problem, with a lot of times with men, because in society, we're not encouraged, like I was just encouraging you guys with, positive affirmations and stuff. Nobody really does that for men in society. So it's like, so they, how are they supposed to pass that on to somebody if no one's ever nourishing them with that? And that's what I'm trying to do on this, during this time that I'm with you. Yeah, I'm trying to do the yoga swing and all of that stuff because I know you guys like to see that. But I'm hoping that, some of my language, right, is sticking with you guys long after, you know, seeing me in the yoga swing is gone. And that's what the hope and desire is, because I feel like I do have the ability to really pass positivity on to people that are open and allowing for that to, touch their lives. And sometimes we just really need it. There's been times that I've just really needed it too. And, it's funny because when I edit my videos and stuff, sometimes I just can't stop watching them because I'm like, who is that person? Like, how, like, it doesn't even seem like me sometimes, how I'm able to just kind of go into this zone and really delve deep and give that away. I'm like, how did I even think of that? Like, what? Sometimes we're just, you know, it's a gift or something. I don't know. I don't know how to describe it, but sometimes I just get like mesmerized myself just in just the things I'm saying and stuff, because sometimes I don't, I think them and I try to embody them, but sometimes, you don't step out of yourself to see how you sound. Or and that's the kind of the nice thing about doing this kind of work is, you're constantly having to evaluate how your presence is. And one of the things that I always want people to feel is, like that they're getting a hug from me. Even though I can't touch you guys physically and stuff, I want this place to be a place where you can go and get like a virtual hug and feel like, somebody's putting their arms around you, because we all need that. But I think that definitely men, there's so much pressure to be the provider and, the fixer. But if you have a mom who is keeping you tied to her forever and didn't give you the tools that you need to go out and be a man, which is the same as it is to be a woman, support. But women, we get forced into that when we have babies. There's no forcing of that for men. They have to acknowledge that on their own. And if you don't give them the tools to do that, it's just a bunch of babies running around. That's what that's, at the end of the day, when you're keeping your sons tied to you like that, you're not making men or women if you're doing that. You're making people dependent on you. And you're probably the worst person in the world if you're having sex with your kids to be dependent on. You're the most unhealthy thing ever. So, you know, men are gonna, I encourage men to stand on their own just like women. But I want men to know that, because they're gonna obviously be a lot more drawn to me than women, that they have a place to go that's, safe, that they can express themselves and they don't have to worry, if they about crying or feeling something or making that step. That's wonderful. Well, that's great. And that's really good, because sometimes we get so stuck in our lives doing the same thing, and oftentimes it's something that does not serve us at all. But we just don't know how, and it happens with me all the time. I don't know how to bust myself out of that hamster wheel. So I use this time when I'm, communicating with you guys and creating this community. I use it for the same thing that you guys come here for. You know, I do. I try to step outside of myself and push my boundaries, push my limits when it comes, because I'm an introvert. So every time, I have to do this kind of stuff, um, the way it used to be is I would procrastinate so much, it would be days. I'd schedule something and it would be days, and say, "Oh yeah, da da da," well, and I didn't want to tell everybody why, but it's sometimes, and this is the same for camming. Sometimes I'm supposed to be on, like I was supposed to be on this morning before, and I had a bunch of stuff to do, but I just was talking myself out of it because sometimes, I was trying to prepare for this. And, it's a lot of time being seen, and I'm just not used to all of that. So, I need to start giving myself enough time in between things so that I can stay on a schedule. Because one of the things, and I told you about this, is I'm reading, the four agreements again. And, the very first one is be impeccable with your word. And it doesn't matter if other people aren't. It doesn't matter how much these guys tell me that they're going to go get money and come back and do all this bullshit. That doesn't matter. What matters is my word. And, since my surgery and everything, I've gotten pretty bad about being dependable about the times that I'm online and stuff because I honestly just really didn't care that much. And it shows because I wasn't making very much money either. So, it shows that, people depend on a schedule. And so I got to get my ass back in gear. So, you know, things like this, it helps me too. It's not just, I'm not just giving everything away, I'm getting something as well. So that's great. That means it's mutually beneficial. And that's how all relationships should be, really. Relationships should never be one-sided. You should always be able to provide something for somebody if they're providing something for you. And a lot of times we don't even know what that is. But I know myself, excellent friend, that I am a very open person and I'm not a very judgmental person. And so, I have that gift to give. And sometimes people being really closed and jaded is also a gift because it reminds me how not to be. So, I try to go into every situation knowing that I can learn from anybody. Even if I don't speak their language, I think they have something that they can teach me that I don't know yet. Because the fact that we live in these bubbles and think that we know everything, we are so, human beings are just so short-sighted. We really just don't have a clue. We don't. And thinking that we have these ideas, and that people should act a certain way and do all these things, that is not, you know, that's not that's not helping, in my opinion. You know. Now there's certain things that, I think as a collective we've decided are probably not healthy, like what I've been talking about with kids and stuff. But, again, it's not really our right to judge either though. Because the second that you get a harsh tone with somebody and you start judging them, they're going to stop listening immediately. They just turn their ears right on off. So the only way to ever make inroads with anybody is to be accepting and open. That's what I've learned in life. That's one thing that I've learned. Now, it doesn't mean that I'm not going to tell them my opinion, just like when I'm online. I'm very steadfast in my belief system, but there's a reason for that. And it's because I'm getting challenged all the time, which is good. I don't like to be in a situation where nobody ever challenges me because then I don't grow. How am I going to grow like that? So, oh, what did you find? You found something about the BLN? They were putting these horses on airplanes, and sending them over to France. And I mean, I'm talking a bunch. It broke my heart kind of. And these were all wild, supposedly wild horses. And, some of them that they found when they were, finding them, they still had like their reins and stuff on them, like um, like they were just thrown out to pasture, like literally, like they still had, um, markings like from their halters and stuff like that. They still had halters. Some of the halters were matted into their faces. It's like I can't, and so they just rounded them all up and sent them over there. But the thing that is so sad about it is that I don't know why people would ever do that to animals like that. But then also, and especially, but the thing that really disturbed me about the BLM doing it is they made money off of it. They were selling these horses to friends. It's not like they were just giving them away. They were killing them and then selling the meat. So it was, yeah. But I will look for it still. Um, and I'm pretty sure it was. I'm pretty sure it was here, Colorado. Is what I remember. But it was some years ago, so I have to reacclimate my brain for that. But I'm a really good researcher, man. If I'm like right now, I'm trying to find. Yeah, exactly, 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 and that's what I was thinking. Right now, so I remember this record. It was a vinyl record that my ex played in 1999, and I think it was like it started off with reggaeton or something, but it was a record, and I'm trying to find that record right now. I don't know the words to the song. I remember what was on the record. There was a chick's ass um on the record, um, you know, the sticker, and I'm pretty sure that it started with an S, like whoever it was. But it's an underground hip hop, and I'm like I'm determined to find out who that fucking record is. So I have a couple people I can ask that probably would have known it, that knew him. But I'm trying to figure it out. And I mean, I'm hitting all these dead ends Googling it, but I'm gonna find it. The more I think about it and really like dig inside my head, I'm like, I start remembering things about it, right? Like that it started with an S or it was something like that. It was like a one-off and it was really underground. It was a single. I know that it wasn't off of like an album. And so I'm like, I'm finding it because I don't know why it popped into my head and it was a song that I really loved. And I don't know why it popped into my head. Some reason it did. And so now I'm on this mission and I'm going to find it. I'll tell you. I'll email you when I find it. Okay, well, I'm going to take off. So, because I got to get to work. But it was really lovely seeing everybody today. Thank you for spending your Saturday morning with me. I do feel a lot better. I am sore just from those couple little sets that I did. And I think that was just enough. Well, this is a hip hop. It was hip hop, but it kind of, like I say, I think it was like reggaeton in the beginning or something like that. I would recognize it if I heard it, but it was not something. It was not mainstream at all. So it was not like a Ludacris or DMX or anything like that. It was something very underground. So yeah, I'm gonna find it, and when I do, I'll let you know. But you guys all have a wonderful rest of your day. And I will see you guys later and talk to you offline. And thank you again for tuning in to me. It's always fun. It does, sometimes I feel a little stressed because I'm always like, what am I gonna do? And I always like try to write it out and I never really try to have it be like a scripted or anything like that, but just like an outline. Half the time I never even use it because once I start, getting in my flow, I'm just myself. And that's exactly how it should be, I think, right? Because um it should, especially when you're trying to build a community. I don't like to have time limits and all of that stuff. I should probably get better about keeping it to an hour, but you know, it's always fun. So I will talk to you guys soon. Um, and again, thank you. And, I'll probably edit this maybe. I don't know. We'll see. Sometimes I'm like, what in the world was I talking about? So I will see you guys later. You guys know where to find me.